How are things? Are you at a gym right now? Or is this your house?
I'm in my basement, dude.
That's gangster.
Just joking. I'm getting my workout on while we're doing this. Is that alright?
You're looking good. You're looking swole. Looking real swole. There we go. Now we're getting people to join. For those people that don't know, Drew and I, we went to college. We played at Ephraim, Utah. Have you been back to Ephraim since the day we graduated?
Honestly, I have not, and I have not been tempted either.
all I remember is turkeys, no cell phone service, and True Badger night, which was I never was a True Badger, but for those,
you missed out, man.
Were you a True Badger?
I was. I'm not too proud of it.
And you know, I'm probably gonna get killed for saying this, but I remember. For those people who don't know, Snow College is a junior college in the middle of Utah, and there's not a lot going on there, and you know, nobody really drinks there. It's primarily a Mormon school, and you know, there's a joke, you know, beer goggles. People will, when they drink a lot, their taste in women becomes questionable because, you know, they've had that beer in their system. Well, at Snow College, we started calling it snow goggles. We were so isolated and so separated for a long time. We started questioning our taste. Pretty soon, everyone was looking good. So we called it, oh, you got your snow goggles on at Snow College, because every girl started looking good after about 2 weeks, because you didn't have a lot of different people to start looking at. It was kind of like a cabin fever. But no, I was never.
Luckily, neither of us got married from someone at Snow College.
No. Speaking of that, how long you been married for?
So 7.5 years. So I'm old, but yeah, 7.5 years, man.
And you got 2 kiddos?
Two daughters, 3 and 1. And
nice.
They're awesome.
So you guys were married for a little bit before for about 4 years before you had kids.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it was the best 4 years of our marriage, to be honest with you.
Nice. What did you do? What did you do after Snow? Where'd you kind of go? What kind of got you into where you are now?
So after Snow College, in 2004, I went to Huntington Beach, California, to live with my brother. That's where I met my wife.
You went from Snow,
yeah,
to Huntington Beach.
Yeah, dude, we loved it down there. And I was there for summer, and then another semester of school, and then let's see, we got engaged later on that year, and then I went back to Virginia to finish up school and play football, and we got married in Utah, and then I finished up school in Virginia. Then I went to Chicago and actually worked in the finance industry for about 3 years.
Chicago. Now,
yeah.
Well, I go to Chicago quite a bit for Optimum. What did you think of Chicago? Did you like it?
Chicago's our favorite city in the nation, to be honest with you. We love it more than New York, and it was beautiful, but I'm not gonna lie, the reason I got out of there was because it was too cold. And those Midwest winters, man, they are brutal.
Totally.
And so we lived there for about 3 years, and we moved back to Utah, which is where my wife's family is from, and we lived here for about 4.5 years now. But no, Chicago is an awesome city.
I love every time going out there. The whole city's organized well, and it's just absolutely beautiful. But
clean as well.
Super clean. I was really impressed with that. But anyhow, kind of getting everyone up to speed. Drew and I went to college. He has done huge things with Fit to Fat to Fit, his trainer. Tell us a little bit about how that came to be, about how you got this idea to do what you've done.
Yeah, so Fit to Fat to Fit, the idea came from when I was doing personal training part-time. I had a full-time job in the medical field, and I trained maybe 1 or 2 clients a week. And for me, I wanted to make more of an impact, and I knew doing something online was the best way to do that. But it's tricky because the online fitness world is so saturated that you need to think of something new, and that's where, as crazy as it sounds, this whole Fit to Fat to Fit idea, it instantly clicked with me, and that's why I felt like it was a good idea, because no one's really ever done it before, and
no one's been crazy enough to do it before.
What's that?
No one's been crazy enough to do it before.
Exactly. A little bit of crazy mixed in is good, because then it catches people's attention.
Definitely.
But my hope was that people would be inspired from it, at the same time as, that shock factor of seeing or saying, what's this guy doing? And so luckily things came to fruition and everything came together. But yeah, that's basically where the idea came from. Was I felt like I needed to make more of an impact, and then at the same time, I felt like I needed a better understanding to relate to my clients who were mostly overweight. And I grew up fit. I was never overweight, and it was easy for me. And so that's why I felt like this Fit the Fat to Fit idea would give me a better understanding. I don't want to say that I know exactly what it was like through this experience, but I can at least say I definitely have a better understanding and more empathy than I did before.
Gotcha. And kind of give people a breakdown on what your experience was, what you went through, the gaining of the weight, and kind of tell us exactly what went down.
Yeah, so it's funny, when I first came up with the idea, the idea was to do it for a whole year, to get fat for a whole year. And so luckily my wife, who's the brains of the family, talked me into doing it for only 6 months. I'm so glad she did, because 70 pounds in 6 months is crazy. I have no idea how much I would have gained if it would have been a year.
Oh, that is crazy.
The concept was to do no exercise and eat an unrestricted diet for 6 months, and then gain. My goal was to gain 50 or 60 pounds. I ended up overachieving in that category.
I love
it.
Yeah. Overachiever.
After 6 months, my goal was to then walk the walk and put myself through my workouts and show people how to get back to fit again, which is why I posted my meal plans and my workouts so that people could follow me along the way. And so that's basically the Fit to Fat to Fit concept in a nutshell.
And how long did it take you to get back to where? Now you got back to where you were and even surpassed. Like you're in great shape. Obviously, look at you now. How long did it take you to get back to that fighting weight?
It took me 6 months. My goal was for it to be a year-long journey.
Gotcha.
6 months of fit to fat, 6 months of fat to fit.
Wow. And what was tough? I mean, when you were gaining the weight, I mean, there's obviously health issues involved, health risks, things like that. I mean, would you just eat until you were sick, basically, each time you sat down?
Yeah, no, that's the surprising thing. I mainly focused on highly processed foods during this journey. So I didn't do the fast food, the super size me route. I ate things like white breads, white pastas, granola bars, juices, cereal, soda, chips, cookies, crackers, those everyday American foods. So I would eat till I was full, and then I would stop when I was full, and I would eat when I was hungry, basically. So I didn't overstuff myself during the journey. But what's funny is eating that food, you get hungry so quick. I could have a huge bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. An hour later, I'm starving again because it's the lack of nutrients in the food. And so that's what was so surprising, was how much I could eat. But I wasn't purposely stuffing my face every single meal to gain those 70 pounds. For me, it became pretty easy.
Yeah, I can definitely relate, because post contest, after I do a contest, I'll allow myself to have a cheat meal here or there, and in the past it's turned into a week, turned into a month, and pretty soon, like you said, those processed foods, like you talked about, they don't keep you full. And one big push I see right now going on is, if it fits your macros. And it's a kind of I'm sure you've heard of it. If it fits in your macros, it kind of fits along the lines that you can pretty much eat anything if it is in your daily total. And while I do think it has some value, or not value, or it has some it's warranted. It's all about calories in versus calories out. But like you just said, you're not going to be getting the essential, fruit, for example, has all these minerals and vitamins. You're not going to be getting those things if you're eating. Now, you might stay skinny. I mean, you could stay skinny off of just eating Twinkies every day if you're underneath your caloric surplus, but you're not going to feel good, and your body composition might not be the same, and definitely you're not going to have the energy to lift. What's your take on it, if it fits in your macros?
Yeah, so I've been trying to change people's philosophy to focus more on micronutrients versus macronutrients.
Okay.
Micronutrients are what's going to keep you living longer and healthier lives. But the problem is that we all want to look skinny, we all want the physique, And so sometimes we sacrifice our micros for our macros just to get that physique. And so I tell people all the time, just because you're losing weight or just because you're skinny does not mean you're medically healthy. My goal, my whole philosophy is to get people to focus on becoming medically healthy first. Then the weight loss and the six-pack abs will take care of themselves after living that lifestyle for so long. But that's the key right there. But unfortunately, we see shows like Biggest Loser, where people are losing 5-10 pounds a week, and I've had some experience with like Extreme Makeover Weight Loss Edition, and I've kind of seen how it works. And basically, it's tough because they're starving themselves. They're working out 6 hours a day, and that's the problem with a lot of diets out there. Is you see people losing tons of weight on these fad diets, but that does not mean they're becoming healthier. And so if we could get people to focus on something like metabolic syndrome and those 5 risk factors first, then we would take care of so many health problems in our nation, and people would actually feel better, and then the weight would take care of itself, as they live that lifestyle.
Right. I love listening to you say that. It should be focused on being healthy first and then worry about looking good. Being a competitor, something that's so focused on, coming from a competitive industry, bodybuilding, the physique, the bikini, I see so many people out there sacrificing health just to look good. And people look at so many people on magazine covers, at so many people out there that look like they're the epitome of health, and it's just not the case. So seeing what you're doing, I guess, to me is very inspirational. It's kind of what I want to get back and really get back into my life and show people that there's more than just looking good. You got to feel good too.
Yeah. And I think you can have both. It's not mutually exclusive. I think you really can have both in this situation. You can eat healthy and get your micronutrients in and still fit your macros in to look good for these physique shows. It's just knowing how to do it and educating yourself on, what is the importance of things like phytonutrients from certain things like kale and spinach and Brussels sprouts and all types of berries and things like that versus chicken breast, X amount of protein, broccoli, X amount of carbs, those kinds of things.
Getting ready for a show, it's the same thing every single day I'm eating. Do you track calories right now? I know a lot of people do, a lot of people don't. What's your take on tracking calories for the day?
Yeah, I personally do not. I don't think most people do, but I don't. That doesn't mean I don't think people should. I think people that are just starting out, who don't have the education yet, that's something very simple to start out doing. So it can be beneficial for someone that's just starting out on a healthier lifestyle. But once you become more educated, you know how your body feels, and how much food you're eating, then you don't really need to track calories.
Gotcha.
Or your exact macros for that matter. I think you know what your body needs after so long. But it can be beneficial for some, in my opinion.
I totally agree with you. For me, I hate counting calories, but it's kind of a necessary evil for a lot of people, like you said, that just starting out. In the off season, I don't track calories, and I'm not gonna compete forever. And I want to get to that point where I could basically know throughout my day that everything. I don't have to weigh out my almonds because it becomes almost OCD, and it's something for me that I see the best results when I do have a kind of a set meal plan, but that's because what I'm trying to achieve is an unhealthy look. To be honest, it's such a low body fat at 3.5%, where that's actually becomes hard on your hormones, hard on some body functions as well. So I definitely think that for example, in your day, do you know roughly how much protein or carbohydrates, or do you try to include certain food items at every meal?
Yeah, so there's a few things I do. Every meal I try and get in, a good amount of protein, fat, and carbs in each of my meals. And I also, depending on my goals, like what my goals are. Like right now, I've been trying to put on some muscle mass, so that means I'm going to increase my proteins and my complex carbohydrates. But here in June, coming up, I'm going to be doing a Spartan race, which is kind of an endurance thing. So I'm going to have to start scaling back on things like protein and changing up my workouts. And I'll probably have to give up some lean muscle mass to increase my endurance. But for the most part, I try and get in a protein, a carb, and a fat in each of my meals.
Gotcha.
Just knowing, what source of the carbs or where those carbs are coming from. It doesn't always have to be grains or breads. I get the majority of my carbohydrates from my vegetables. So non-starchy vegetables are the majority of my carbohydrate source. And, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that think fat is what makes you fat. And I incorporate a lot of fat as well into my diet. And I think, things like cholesterol, just because an egg yolk has cholesterol doesn't mean that it's going to increase your cholesterol levels. That's
the important stuff. People love talking about the gym and working out. And what I always like to tell people, the gym's the fun part. That's where you go in and you get to blow off some aggression. You get to kind of just tune out the world. But it's in the kitchen that really you're going to see the results. So did you have when you were losing all of this weight, what were you eating? I mean, were you eating pretty much like we're talking about now, or did you have a meal plan set up, and did you eat breads? And I know a lot of people out there, I'm sure, are wondering, did he only allow like the paleo diet, for example? I mean, what's your thoughts on things like that? Do you eat pretty much?
No, that's a good question. First, I would point people to my website where I documented my meal plan. So the whole 6 months of what I ate is free for everyone to access on my website.
That's awesome.
So you can kind of see what I did, but mostly I went through phases. Usually the first 30 days is the first phase, which is pretty much like a cleansing period. You're getting off of all those toxic foods from like dairy and grains and sugars. So the first 30 days, I didn't have any dairy, I didn't have any grains, and I didn't have any sugar except for berries once a day. So it was mostly paleo that first month. And then, I'm not an extremist as far as, I'm never going to eat grains or never dairy. I did them in moderation. So the second phase was kind of more of a maintenance phase. And so for the next 2 or 3 months, I kind of implemented complex carbohydrates like whole wheat bread, brown rice, quinoa, things like sweet potatoes into my diet. And then towards the very end, it was kind of like my plateau breakthrough phase is what I call it. And that's where things got really strict, where I cut down on a lot of high carbohydrate foods and did very, very low carb, and probably wasn't the healthiest, but that was just to help me get through that plateau. So whatever you do, it has to be a lifestyle. It can't be a diet, but it's important, just like you mix up your workouts, to mix up your meal plans as well to kind of help your body, break through plateaus or detox it from all those processed foods, which in my opinion are just as addictive as drugs.
I completely agree with you, and kind of, I mean, just hearing you talk, pretty much what you're describing, what I do when I hit a plateau is the carb cycling. So what a lot of people don't realize is, as you restrict your calories, you're losing weight, your metabolism is going to slow down, metabolic rundown. So one thing that I like to implement when I am dieting is refeed days. Now you do it in a way that you kind of cycled it, and once you hit a plateau you do it. I would do it, as I got leaner, I would implement more refeed days, more frequency in my week. And I would increase my carbohydrates on those days, just kind of throw that wrench into that your metabolism so it doesn't get used to functioning, I guess, on lower calories. And that's a tricky thing that people, what do I eat on those days? Do I need to lower my protein? I always would lower my protein on those days. Leptin is definitely something people want to research if you're interested in carb cycling and what that does for your metabolism. But it's nice that you came from a very scientific background with this. That it wasn't just, it wasn't you just kind of, shooting fish in a barrel. You researched it and you came to the plate knowing exactly what you were going to do.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to show people was like, here, I got 70 pounds to lose. Here's how I'm going to do it. Why don't you just follow with me? It's free. You can see exactly what I do. And it was incredible to see how many people jumped on board with that, and people from all over the world started following the meal plans and the workouts, and it was awesome to see this large community, we call it Team Drew, of people that, just started changing their lifestyle. They saw how I did it, and I wasn't starving myself, and I wasn't working out, 2, 3, 4 hours a day like some people thought, because a lot of people thought, oh, he's a personal trainer, he lives in a gym, he's going to work out, 5 times a day, eat like 1,000 calories, and of course he's going to lose weight.
Right.
I kind of want to show people, look, I have a full-time job in the medical field, I have 2 daughters, I coach Little League football, and I don't have the time to work out for 5 hours or,
You were busy.
I just want to show people that you can do this, and it has to be a lifestyle change. It can't be a short-term fad diet. And so that's kind of where I learned more about the mental and emotional side of weight loss. Or even if you're getting ready for a physique show, it's more about the mental and emotional challenges than just the physical challenges. So the meal plans, the exercises, all that's important.
Definitely.
Making it a lifestyle is knowing how to overcome those mental and emotional hurdles as you're, preparing for a physique show or as you're trying to lose weight. And that's, to me, the key, and that's what I talk about in my book, Fit to Fat to Fit. I talk about the importance of overcoming those challenges, how to overcome them, and how to make it a lifestyle.
Was there any, I know the times I've put on weight, people get more depressed, you want to turn to food more. What was your motivation, I guess, in losing all of this weight? Like, how did you stay motivated to do it every day and not say, dang, today, because so many times people have a bad day and then a bad week. And how did you make sure that didn't happen?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, the biggest thing was the accountability factor. And I talk about this in my book, staying accountable to others. And because for me, I was so afraid of going out in public, and if I was tempted to buy some Zingers or Mountain Dew or Cinnamon Toast Crunch, which were my temptations, I was so afraid of running into someone that might recognize me, like, hey, you're the fitness fat the fit guy, why are you buying some Cinnamon Toast Crunch? I was so afraid of that kept me accountable. And so I'm not telling people they need to start a Fit to Fit journey and a website like I did, but they need to have either family, friends, or an online community that they can stay accountable to, because no matter who you are, you're going to be tempted. And no matter who you are, you're going to be by yourself sometimes, and you're going to need a support system, someone that's going to give you a kick in the butt when you need it, but then also believe that you can actually do this. And so if you don't have those things in place, for me, it would have been 100 times harder if no one knew what I was doing. So I made sure that I was staying accountable to my wife, my friends. I told everyone what I was doing. Most of them already knew about it from the TV shows I was on. But that's the biggest thing. You can't say to yourself, I'm strong enough to do this by myself. Because it's not just a lack of willpower that it comes down to. It really is staying accountable, having that support system, and knowing your weaknesses and knowing how to overcome them. And
turning to people instead of food for help. Turning to people that when you are struggling, and not it almost comes down to, I think, pride being an issue. Like saying, I sometimes don't have. I can't get over this on my own. I want to do this. I need you there to help me out. And people that I think can help, can turn to other people. Those are going to be the more successful. So I totally agree with you. If you can find that support system, people who are positive around you, people that are going to be telling you can do things. Not, you don't want the people in your life that that are going to be saying no, you can't. And I tell people all the time, you might have to trim the fat in your life. And basically what that means is people who are bringing you down. That and I don't like to ever say that you're always in control, but if you have a lot of negative influences in your life, you might just need to say adios to those people and find a new group of friends or people that are gonna have your back if it's really what's important. In your journey, did you find supplements are a huge industry right now? So many people out there really look to supplements. What did you take? Was there anything that you really swore by when losing the weight?
Yeah, so first off, here's my whole point of view on supplements. I don't want people to think that supplements are the key to getting the physique or losing the weight. They are an important, convenient part of that whole process. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want people to think that these supplements are the key to my success. But honestly, they're not there to replace whole foods, clean eating. They're there to supplement. And so basically, I did use supplements. For me, I focused on a whey protein isolate. I did take fish oil, a multivitamin, and some digestive enzymes. I didn't take a whole lot of creatine or pre-workout. For me, I wanted to focus just on the basics, but yes, I did take certain supplements during the weight loss journey because for me, it came down to a convenience thing.
Gotcha.
If you had time to prepare all your food and have each meal trucked out the day. That's great, but sometimes you're going to be busy. Life's going to come at you, and you need something that's convenient, and so supplements definitely come into place there. And I'm a believer now, whereas before I wasn't, that our food is not as nutrient dense as maybe we think it is, and so it doesn't hurt to add in certain supplements like a multivitamin.
Definitely.
Let's get those nutrients which we might be lacking, even though we are eating a lot of broccoli or kale or spinach, just in case our food isn't as nutrient dense as we might think it is.
Right. And that makes total sense, and especially when you're in a caloric deficit, when you are losing that weight, that's those times that I tell people that something like a multivitamin, fish oils, things. Fish is pretty calorically dense. To get those good fats out of the fish, take a fish oil supplement. Those things are really going to be beneficial, but you can't allow your body you can't afford all those calories coming from a salmon or something. So getting that fish oil it can be huge, along with a multivitamin. Was there, when I diet for a show, I like to do it slowly, and part of the reason I like to do that is because when you diet for long periods of times and you feel empty, I kind of was a punk at some point. I became a little bit ornery, and people were like, "Man, hey, have some carbs. It's gonna be all right." And did you notice that in this journey, was there ever days that you just felt just exhausted, I guess, for a lack of better terms? And what did you do to kind of combat that? Because you have a family. Your little girl's dad. Mommy, why is Dad being mean? Like, what did you do? You couldn't afford to do that.
Yeah, I pretty much suggested to my wife, I was like, maybe I should lock myself in a cell when I first started trying to eat healthy, and just keep the girls away from me or hide me for about 2 or 3 weeks till I detox pretty much. But no, the toughest parts, and I'll admit they were hell, was the first 2 weeks. I did go cold turkey. For me, I needed to do that. Getting off the Mountain Dew, the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, the Zingers, the SpaghettiOs. Let's see what else. Hot Pockets were another one of my go-to treats.
Were you just a happy camper at those points? Like when you were gaining that weight, were you just happy all the time? Did you? I imagine that, like you said, you would eat something and feel hungry again. Were you up and down as far as energy levels went?
Yeah, no, it was very fun in the beginning. The first 2 months were fun to kind of let myself go and be like, you know what? For the first time in my life, I'm not going to worry about exercise. I can eat whatever I want, no restrictions. So it was fun at first, but then seeing how my body started to transform, when it became tough to bend over and clip my toenails, and when I would see myself in the mirror, it mentally and emotionally became a lot harder than I thought. I covered up in front of my wife when I stepped out of the shower. I did not feel comfortable in my own skin. I used to be the fit guy out in public. Now in public, I was trying to wear the biggest clothes possible, just to kind of hide what I was gaining. So that was the biggest surprise, was mentally and emotionally. But then towards the end, the food became a comfort, no doubt about it. When I was, stressed or sad or whatever, food definitely brought, that spike in blood sugar levels and, brought those endorphins. I felt good, but it became a vicious cycle, and that's why it was so hard to get off of when I had to go from fat to fit.
I'm just as you're talking about this, I'm picturing Dwight Goodman from Dodgeball singing my milkshake brings all the boys to the yard at the end there, and I could just see you when you're 70 pounds and he's sitting there eating. He's got food all over him. For those that might be looking at you thinking, man, he looks familiar. He kind of looks like, who does he look like? I love it. So yeah, he looks like Ben Stiller. We gave him crap for it all the time in college. So I just couldn't help but thinking you plus 70, 80 pounds right now, and definitely having a good time eating. But yeah, definitely, I think that you hit the nail on the head. It's an emotional thing. And for me, when I do, did you ever have cheat meals? Did you ever, losing the weight, did you ever, I guess, fail a day or at a meal? Did you just break down and give in at all?
That's actually a really good question. What I wanted to show people was that, I was losing the weight during the holidays. So Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Super Bowl, I had to lose weight, and that does not mean that I didn't have cheat meals. I did have cheat meals, but the important thing that I taught people was to schedule them in advance. So when Thanksgiving is coming up, and I said, I told myself, and I would tell people, look, I'm having a cheat meal on Thanksgiving. I'm having a cheat meal on Christmas or Christmas Eve, I allowed myself those cheat meals, but I made sure to schedule them in advance so that I, wasn't just, letting myself go whenever I wanted to.
Gotcha.
That's when it becomes tough, is once you let yourself go and you have something unscheduled, then it becomes easier the second time and the third time to let yourself go like that. So I made sure and followed some rules when I was going to have a cheat meal for the holidays or New Year's. But definitely, this kind of goes back to your other question. I think I would have gone crazy if I would have went the whole 6 months, no cheat meals. I definitely would have gone crazy. So, and that's the key to making a lifestyle, is to make sure to schedule these breaks or cheat meals, treat meals, whatever you want to call them, to schedule them in advance, so that when you're on a diet, you do get moody. It's too restrictive, and just like an overly strict parent, eventually their kid's going to want to rebel, and so you need to allow yourself to have those once in a while. But the key is to schedule them in advance.
And I personally, I love that. I love the fact that you schedule those in advance, and in doing so, you kind of take out the fear. For me, when I get ready for a show, I don't schedule cheat meals.
Yeah.
And what happens is, telling myself I can't have it, I can't have it, I can't have it. You're exactly right. What does that do? It just makes me want it more. So when it does happen, it's not scheduled, I feel bad about it. I tell myself I'm never going to do it again, which isn't realistic. And then guess what? Maybe 2-3 days later, it happens again, and then I feel bad. I'm beating myself up about it, and it's just a negative. It's a negative. You spiral out of control. So I think scheduling some things like that. Nobody's perfect. Like right now, for example, what are you following? Do you have a day that is a cheat meal with the family, or do you get froyo together?
Froyo.
I love froyo.
No, I'm lactose intolerant, so I don't do dairy. So
Gotcha.
Dairy is easier for me to stay away from. But no, now that I'm maintaining, I implement more cheat meals. Versus when I was losing weight, I would schedule 1, maybe 2 a month as I was trying to lose the weight. But now that I'm just maintaining, usually the weekends are my cheat days if I have a cheat meal.
And what is that? What does a cheat meal look like for you? Does it mean you can eat whatever you want? Or, a lot of people out there, when they have a cheat meal, bodybuilders at least, I see them put away a full pizza, 2 Ben & Jerry's, and 15 pounds later, of course, a lot of it's water. It's an ugly sight.
Yeah, no, I don't let myself go completely like that. Here's an example of what I do. I'll go out on a date with my wife. We'll go out to a nice restaurant, and either we'll decide we're going to have a cheat meal for dinner or a cheat meal for dessert. And so what we'll do is sometimes I'll order one healthy meal, and she'll order something like Alfredo pasta, or chicken Alfredo pasta.
Getting
and
it.
We share those meals, so we get something healthy, and then we're having a little bit of a cheat meal. But sometimes we'll both get healthy dinners, and we'll let ourselves go on dessert. Where we'll have white chocolate bread pudding, which we had about 2-3 weeks ago.
Get out of here. That sounds good. White chocolate bread pudding?
It's delicious, man. If you ever come out here to Utah, Salt Lake City, and if it's a cheat meal that's scheduled for you, I'll take you there.
Definitely. That sounds like white chocolate bread pudding. That sounds like something that's a Swoldier dessert right there.
But anyways, now that's basically what a cheat meal looks like. I just want to make sure people don't turn it into a cheat day, where they say, you know what, Super Bowl Sunday's coming up, the whole day is mine, I'm going to eat whatever I want all day. I try and tell people, get at least 4 healthy meals in, and then grab a cheat meal.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Rules, if I am going to have a cheat meal, the rest of the day is clean eating, and then that one meal is my cheat meal.
But again, like you're saying, you're not saving up. You're still eating your normal meals, so you're getting into your routine. You're going to allow yourself those added calories, but you're not going to do the whole. A lot of people say, well, since I'm going to have a cheat meal later on, I'm not going to eat anything up to that point. That's a big. I noticed that you were talking about Christmas time, and eating your meals, and then having your one meal that you're going to allow yourself. And I think that's huge. It keeps yourself in the routine, and you don't get into that mentality that I can make up for this meal later on by not eating, and then that's a pitfall.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, what's coming up? What's coming up for Fit to Fat? What's the next big step? I know you're always doing something. What's on your agenda?
Yeah, so there's a few things. One is my book, the paperback version of Fit to Fit, comes out in June with 16 extra pages of additional content, more recipes, and I'll actually be able to spotlight some of my success stories in the book, which is really
Very cool.
Let's see what else. Look for me on Extreme Makeover Weight Loss Edition,
Heyo.
3, which I think starts in May with Chris Powell. I was able to go out there, film an episode with him. He kind of introduced me to one of the ladies on the show, and I was able to do be a part of that episode. So I don't know when it's going to air, but look for that. I am working with a production company on a possible TV show, so I don't want to say anything just yet because we haven't gotten to pitch the idea.
Gotcha.
There's that, and then I might be doing another journey coming up here in a little bit. Not another fit to fat journey, but something where people can vote on it. Something kind of controversial, and I've got some ideas. Something a little bit different, but still kind of extreme or a little bit interesting that people will be able to follow along with. So stay tuned for that. And I'm always answering my emails, Facebook posts, tweets. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me anything. I'm definitely open to answering people's questions about what I did and what's coming up too.
Definitely, you're definitely a busy guy. I think a TV show I could see you doing that. That'd be great. Call it Global Gym. No, I'm just kidding. There's a great energy in the gym here. I love that movie. Seriously, every time it's the same character he played in Heavyweights, and every time I see it, I think of you. But I gotta give it to you and guys like Chris Powell. I've told you this before. You guys that are married, have kids, I look to that as big inspiration for myself. A lot of people out there may or may not know I went through a divorce, and part of what me got into this healthy industry is that it got me back to balancing out everything in my life. I was able to come into the gym and what I learned in the gym I was implementing in my everyday life as far as relationships and competing. It then kind of took me to a place where I overemphasized the fitness aspect. And I kind of lost that balance in my life of spiritual, emotional. And so when I see guys like you, like I said, and Chris Powell that are doing it all, have family, have kids, it's such an inspiration to me that because that's what I want to that's what I want to embody is that whole kind of complete health that you guys are doing, and I just think it's wonderful what you're doing. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Steve. Keep inspiring, dude. Swoldier Nation.
I love it.
I love the whole philosophy, the Swoldier philosophy. So keep on. You're inspiring, people as well all over the world, dude. So keep living the lifestyle is what I tell people.
I will do. I will keep trying. And like I said, definitely, it's awesome what you're doing. I can't believe. I remember getting I think a tweet from Chris out in Chicago, Chris Grimm. Say, hey, you and Drew, have you seen what Drew's doing? This was like 2 years ago. And, so I've got to kind of witness and watch along here. And it's so cool the fact that, we played linebacker together at Snow College. For those, you can kind of tell by looking at Drew here, Drew had some of the biggest traps though in the business. Like he had done I don't know if he just loved doing cleans all day in the gym, but homeboy walked around and he definitely had some sweet traps. But it's been so awesome to watch that and be a part of it. And I'm sure we'll hook up in the future. I'm definitely gonna get down to Utah. I've been hanging out in that neck of the woods lately, so we'll come grab a workout. But I appreciate you being on the show tonight.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on, Steve. Definitely looking forward to working with you in the future, man.
Definitely. Well, best of luck to you, my friend.
See y'all. Bye.
See ya.